Good morning. Welcome. My name is Cindy. This is Kitschy Chick Creations, and it is a cold November morning here. So I'm cuddled up in my nice warm sweater, got some coffee, and I thought it would be a great morning just to stay in and do some crafts. If you are new to my channel, thank you. Please like and subscribe. I am going to show us today a quilt block. This is not at all a finished product. You're not going to see that. Again, this channel is just to get us started creating. So um, am going to be showing you how to make these today. You can do these with different colored backgrounds, different colored for the popsicles, however you want to do it. And then eventually you're going to end it with enough to create a quilt. I will talk through the sizes that you need for each piece and join me. So we're going to get started making our popsicle quilt block. And I have these directions that I received from the Quilting Guild. At the Quilting Guild, there's lots of different booths where you can help out with making quilts for different reasons. And I picked this kit up. You get in the kit, you pay $1 and you get all the cut materials already to create a block. And then once you get the blocks done, you take them back and somebody else finishes the quilt. It's kind of fun, especially if you are new to quilting and you just want to start by learning how to make different blocks. And that's kind of stress free because then you can just take them back and somebody else finishes the quilt. And it's just a learning experience, and I thought it was kind of fun. Yes, there's not necessarily a dollar's worth of material in here, but somebody else took the time to cut out all the pieces and the sizes that you need. They took the time to put the directions together and package it for you. And then somebody else is eventually going to take the time to finish making that quilt. So a dollar for a baggie of materials is really relatively inexpensive. And I bought three of the popsicle um, squares. And I never made the popsicle squares before. Again, I'm really new to quilting. So for me, I thought it would be fun just to get my feet wet making something I hadn't made before. So it looks like these directions came from www.scatteredthoughtsofacraftymom.com. I have not checked out this website. Feel free to if you would like to. That is not who actually um, I got the kit from. So whoever put together this kit probably got the information from there. So I just want to shout out to them for um, coming up with this and giving all the information for it. So we're going to start with uh, making the little bottom part of it. So the popsicle stick is what we're going to start with first. So here it says we need two 5 by 3 rectangles. We need a 1.5 by 2.25 rectangle for the actual stick. And we need a 1.5 by 1.25 for the another background piece that's going to go at the bottom of our popsicle. So we're going to start by putting these two pieces together. I'm using a Viking Epic 2 that is designed for embroidering, quilting, and all that fun stuff. However, you do not have to have a machine this big to make squares to get into um, quilting. I actually started I made two little small wall quilts. They're about, I don't know, th- 2.5, 3 feet by maybe 5 feet. They're hanging in my house, and I made both of those on a regular um, Janome sewing machine, nothing quite nearly as fancy or as big as this. So you can start out quilting on something much smaller. I just wanted to start getting more involved in quilting and possibly some embroidery, which I haven't even really done yet. But eventually I'm going to get to that. So again, a big, huge machine is not needed. What else are you going to need for this project? You are going to uh, need to have your iron and scissors if you don't have an automatic cutter on yours, on your machine. But other than that, there's really not anything else you're going to need. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these together, right sides together. This fabric is a little hard to tell, so I'm thinking right there. And some fabrics aren't, if you went with a solid, this one has a little bit of a swirl in it. So it has a pattern. If you went with a solid, then it's, you know, sometimes if you don't get, it's definitely harder to tell which ones go together. All right, I'm going with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I have a little guide here on my machine. Again, if you don't have it, that is completely okay. Just go with a 1/4 seam allowance. All right, we've made our first attachment. And so we're going to open up the seam in the back here, and we're going to not sew, we're going to iron that down. We're going to iron it open so that when we're done, the back is going to look like this, nice and flat. So that's going to help with the rest of our sewing if we um, iron our seams as we go. All right, so now we're going to attach this to these sides. So again, we're going to go right face to right face. And I am not um pinning these together. If you want to pin yours together, that is completely up to you. Usually with the smaller pieces like this, it's not really necessary to pin together. So I'm just not doing it. But if you feel more comfortable pinning it, by all means, pin yours together. Again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I know that some people say that if you're putting all this together, you don't need to backstitch to make sure your stitches stay in. However, I always backstitch, um, only because I want to make sure this is going to stay together for a really, 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 really long time. This isn't for me, so I want to make sure whoever is going to end up with this quilt um, that none of my pieces ever come apart. So I'm going to open this up, and again, I'm going to iron it. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to put right side to right side. Now, All right, so we're going to open this up. We're going to press our seam. And now we have our popsicle stick together. All right, so seams pressed. And the first part of our square is together. We have a popsicle stick. Now we're going to move on to the actual um, popsicle part of it. I'm going to just set this aside for now. And the next step we're going to do is something called snowballing. We're going to take the two small squares here, and these are 1.5 inch squares, and we're going to attach them to the top of the popsicle, this one right here. So we have to snowball those corners. I'm going to show you how to do that. So these squares are 4.5 by 2.5 inches. Now you can do your popsicle in all one color. And if you do that, then you're just going to make this, instead of separating these into 4.5 by 2.5, you'll do 4.5 by 7.5. Um, Maybe a little bit shorter because that's including the seam allowances. So you'll just have to take off those like 1/4 inch seam allowances. So it's going to be about 7 inches if you want to do just one color of your popsicle, which I think would look perfectly cute as well. You're going to take your 1.5 inch squares, and they say to draw a line and from one corner to the other corner. I just kind of fold it in half, and I don't press it down. I just use my fingers and create like a seam like that. And then you're going to put this right side to right side. So right side fabric to right side fabric. When you put these together though, you want to make sure that little seam that you created is going from top to side. If you put it from at the corner, it's not going to turn out right. So don't put your little seam at the corner, put it opposite of a corner. So it's going to go from top to side. All right, and then for this, instead of using the 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to sew directly on to um, the 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 line that we just made, from corner to corner. All right, so now I have sewn corner to corner. Then what we're going to do is we're going to trim this off, this corner here. So make sure you leave like, 1/4 of an inch, so that way you have something to open up and um, iron out a nice seam. So what you do is you open it up and you have the top of the popsicle. So it's going to be like that on both sides. All right, so the top of our popsicle is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the other two pieces of our popsicle and we're going to attach them. So I'm going to put right side to right side. And if you feel like you need to um, pin these together, do so. All right, now that we have this part of our popsicle together, we're going to attach this top piece right here. And this piece is again another 4.5 by 2.5 inch background piece. So it's the same color as my background. I'm just going to lay those right sides to right sides. Okay, so now we're going to put the sides on. And these pieces are 3.5 by 8.5 inch. So 3.5 by 8.5 inch. I have tried pressing these pieces out and I cannot get some of these wrinkles out of it. So I'm a little disappointed in that. But I'm gonna keep keeping on. All right, so now we are at our final sew where we just have to take the top part of our popsicle and attach it to our popsicle stick. So we're just going to line that up right side to right side. Again, pin if you want to. There is no shame in pinning. And sew that together. And there we have it. I'm going to iron that out so it's nice and flat, but there is our popsicle. Good job. Hope you enjoyed it and happy creating.